we're going to go from variable view to data view. In the previous video, I taught you how to code these four variables. Now, if you look at the bottom again, we're going to click and we're going to shift over to data view. And the whole purpose of this is going to teach you how to do data entry. Now I'm going to do a third video which shows you some commonly used statistical tests and some procedures. But when we get to data view, this is the process called data entry. So if I mentioned Qualtrics in the other video, Qualtrics, you can actually export the SPSS file. But if you do paper-based surveys, you actually have to enter in manually into data view. Now, you'll notice I started by teaching variable view first because you have to code your variables. You have to identify what the variables are. And when we do data view, now we're taking our surveys. So let's pretend that we're going to just use 10 participants. And we're going to make up names, ethnic categories, and whatnot. And we're just going to put in numbers. So we're going to make our first respondent. We're in college, non-traditional college. So I'm going to make the numbers change a bit throughout. So first respondent, we're going to make them 21. Nice, they can drink, woohoo. All right, we're going to give them a random number of 2 for their ethnic category. Now, because this is a separate video, you may have forgotten what the ethnic category was for 2. Now on your survey you would have it, but I want to show you this button on the top. It's A1. What that does is it converts the numbers into the categories. So A1 isn't just steak sauce, it's a toggle button that allows you to switch it. So watch what happens to the ethnic column when I click this button. So it's starting as a 2. Now it's telling me that 2 I previously coded as Hispanic, not Caucasian, right? So I'm going to toggle back because I like to see numbers. We're going to put 3 here. Now I remember what 3 was. It was transgender. And presidential support, we're going to, let's see, he's not very strong in LGBT issues, so we're going to make this person strongly disapprove of the president. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click it. Now that I have that first person, let me make sure that this indeed is person who is Hispanic, transgender, and strongly disapprove. So let me click that. Sure enough, we have the age. Again, age was in a numerical form. There were no values, right? So it stays the same. But anything that had a value in the variable view that we coded, it's now going to show up. Now, some people like to see the category so that they know they didn't make an error in data entry. I like to do the numbers because it's more efficient. Now, I'm going to also show you something else as we do this. Let's make another student. We're going to make them 34, right? Because Kane has a lot of non-traditional students. Now, what's interesting is when we have it as the categories, right, as instead of numbers, you'll see that you can actually do a drop-down box and click the arrow, right? So if you didn't remember what the numbers belong to and you have a partner in your group saying, well, this person was African-American, great. So instead of having to remember the number 1, you could click African-American. This person was male. So I click again, we're going to make that person male. And this person was neutral. So again, we're going to click this. We're going to do neutral. All right. So now it's still listed in the label form. I'd rather keep it in the numbers because it's more efficient. So let me go back, and I'm going to just plug in a bunch. I'm going to make this one 18. Now, for research ethics point of view, I like to make sure that my participants are 18 or above. Because any person under the age of 18, it's hard to get approval from the IRB because they're a protected population. But so the numbers I'm going to make up are going to be 18 and above. So we're going to make this 3, 4, 5, okay, 1, wait, 23, ethnic category 2, gender, which one's missing 2. All right, so we're going to make this person, it sucks that I have to think about it, but it is what it is. All right, 46. We're going to make their ethnic group 1 again, gender 1 again, 4. All right, 19, a younger student, 3, gender 2, presidential support 4, 18, 2, 2, 2. Now I'm only going to make 10 participants because it's going to get a little silly otherwise. 25, 1, 1, 4, 2. Oh, that can't be 2. They can't be 2 years old filling out our survey. So what would their age be? We'll make them 30. Ethnic category. Let me just make sure I have a bunch there. Okay. 2. We're going to make that 3. 3. Okay. So now I have 10 participants. Again, for a lot of the inferential statistics, this sample size is not adequate, right? Because in order for you to run most inferential statistics, you need at least 25 to 30 participants in each level of a variable. Typically, I actually require people doing research with me to have 50 participants in each variable, and that's just to meet the assumption of normality of your distribution. But let's do some interesting things with this. So we have age, we have ethnicity, we have gender, and we have presidential support. Now, these would be our categorical variables, right, or demographics variables, and this would be our survey question, right? So I'm only going to run demographics variables or descriptive statistics on age, ethnicity, and gender. So I'm going to go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, and Descriptives. Now, I did that a little bit fast. I apologize for that. But so the 3 variables that I want, and you can hold the shift button down and press the arrow down, and you could take multiple variables in at the same time. So now I've highlighted the 3 variables I want. I'm going to put them in, and I'm telling SPSS that I want descriptive statistics on these 3 variables. But what descriptive statistics? Well, there's a tab on the right side called Options, and I'm going to click that. Now, the default gives you the means and standard deviation, minimum and maximum. Now, to me, this is enough. I'm okay with this. But what it's going to do is when I click Continue, there's going to be a pop-up screen, and that's called an output. So this is going to be our first analysis in an output form. So I click Continue, I click OK, and now I get an output. Now you'll notice here I get the minimum age is 18, the maximum age is 46, the mean is 26.9, and a standard deviation of 9.21. In experimental psychology, this is going to be important because you want to report the mean age and the standard deviation of your participants. Mm-hmm. What I didn't get is a breakdown of each individual frequency. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rerun this analysis, not as a descriptives, but I'm going to do Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, and this time I'm going to do frequencies. And when I do frequencies, it's going to be a breakdown of each individual category and how frequently it occurred. So now, again, I'm going to put all 3 of these in, and I'm going to click OK. So now, what's interesting is now I have a breakdown of various ages, right, in a table form, tabular form, however many individuals from a various ethnic group. And notice how, remember I said you want to write out the full thing because now I have a table with the prompt. What is your age, right? So it has the question there. So we have 4 African American, 4 Hispanic, and 2 Caucasian, right? Total of 10 participants, which matches what we entered. Now, breakdown of gender. We have 4 male, 3 female, 2 transgender, and 1 prefer not to answer. That's actually pretty cool because that was by accident. I didn't know that was going to come out the 4, 3, 2, 1. Pretty cool. It worked out. But now, notice we have our descriptive statistics. Again, when you're writing the participant subsection of the methods, knowing the mean age and the standard deviation is going to be important, and knowing the breakdown of categories of male, female, and so forth, African American, Caucasian, Hispanic, and so forth. This is going to be important because you can give a frequency and a percent of your group. Now, you always want to check to make sure that you have sufficient number of individuals in each group. Again, we take volunteers for participants, so it doesn't always work out in psychology. Don't be alarmed if you have almost like a 2-to-1 ratio of females to males, because more females are psych majors. People freak out and they're like, oh no, I don't have an equal sample size. Don't worry about that. That's very common actually. But if you want to do something called quota sampling, you would want to make sure that the distribution matches the population a bit. So you would want to check the frequencies and align them. All right, so we did age, we did a breakdown of gender, ethnicity, and so forth. Now there are a whole bunch of inferential statistics. And for this, I apologize, I'm not going to use this data set. I'm going to use a pretty robust data set that I have elsewhere. So don't be alarmed that this third video will look nothing like this. So I'm going to stop this video. But just to recap, this is our output for our descriptive statistics. The next video will be all about inferential statistics. So I'm going to close this out. I'm not going to save the contents because it's just demonstration purposes only. And I'm going to stop the video here.